Welcome to That's What We Think with Connie and Steve.
Hi, Connie.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm great. How are you
That's
doing today?
awesome.
Well, I have to point out something. Connie's drinking out of this gigantic cup with the
It's as big as my
Canadian
face.
flag, and I love it. So I was just asking her where she got it, and she said, and she's going to say, "So here's the story." And I said, "Stop! Don't tell me. Let's press record because there's always a story with
It's
Connie.
always a
So I
story.
want to hear how you got
So,
this cup.
so it's a
It's
giant
really amazing.
white cup. It
Yep,
says Canada on the side with red maple leaf on
yep.
both sides.
It's a great
Um,
cup.
it's a really good cup. Um,
It's
so
huge.
I was at uh, Muskoka Novel Marathon, which happens every year up in Muskoka, Ontario,
Yeah.
where you spend 72 hours of very little sleep and all writing. No one's running in this marathon. And my very good friend and author, Kevin Craig, he writes LGBTQ YA.
Okay.
Um, Great person. He had this cup and he had this giant cup because you're drinking as much coffee as you can to
Yeah.
stay awake during the 72 hours and have the energy and brain power to write during this time.
Yeah.
So when it was time to leave, he forgot the cup. And I told him, I said,
So I stole it.
I did. I did. Well, I didn't steal it. I brought it home and I told Kevin, I brought your mug because he forgot. And he was like, oh, it was just a dollar store mug that I bought on the way up so that I would have a big mug of my own to drink. Because the mugs that they provide you are these little tiny wee things that do nothing. You know, the kind of mugs you get at one of those breakfast places that
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
they're
small ones.
small.
The
There's like
diner cups.
what exactly a
Yeah,
diner cup. You need to come by and refill those mugs every 2 minutes.
that's true. They do.
So he bought this from the dollar store, and I was like, okay. And he goes, I wasn't planning on keeping it. I was like, all right, so it's mine now.
Well, I'll
So
tell you,
Kevin, if you're
that would
looking for
be.
your mug,
I
right here.
tell you though, that would be a huge seller now, since everything is so
Yes.
pro Canada now. That cup
Yeah.
is. I'm sure it's sold out.
I
I mean,
well, I don't know. I could sell it for more than what he bought it for.
I'll bet you can. Like honestly, it's a great cup.
It
It's
was
a great cup.
probably, I mean, nothing at the dollar store is a dollar anymore, but it was
I
probably
know.
a dollar 25, a dollar 50.
That is a great cup. And that is
It
not the
is.
topic today.
No,
It is not about coffee cups or Canada.
but we had
Today,
to start talking about my giant mug of coffee, which it is coffee today, not tea.
that's right. I noticed. Why'd you switch?
Abby had made a pot of coffee, and I was
Ah,
like, okay,
all right.
yeah,
Well, we are talking. What are we talking? We're talking movies
we're
today.
talking movies, the
In
movies of our
particular,
youth, the
yeah.
movies of our teen years, of our adult years, and our favorite movies, just
Now,
movies because we love movies.
that's right. And Connie had mentioned in the birthday episode that we did the people that she would love to have at her table. And notably, they were actors, comedians,
Yeah.
directors, Mel Brooks. And Mel Brooks in particular, I'm just going to single out because it is related to what we're all going to, they're all related to what we're talking about today, but him in particular. Now, he did a Western movie. Do you remember the name of it, Con?
The Western? Oh, Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles. I gotta tell ya, I'm still thinking what sort of trouble that type of movie would be in if it was made today. And then it makes me question the process of what's going on now in regards to filmmaking, where we are. But we're not really getting into that part. We are going to be talking about the things that we loved growing up, and now. But keep in mind, we are children of the 70s and the 80s, so there's
Oh,
going to be some
yeah.
controversy in our choices, right?
Yeah. I mean, Mel Brooks himself, he, even though, okay, it may be dated, the humor, meaning there's certain things that we don't say or do or
I know.
I know it's bad to maybe laugh at this stuff and you kind of
I
cringe
know.
a bit, but
You do cringe. You
it's
do
for
cringe.
us, it's funny, I think, because
Yeah.
we grew up with it. Probably if my kids were to watch it, they'd be like,
This is not funny.
yeah, they wouldn't find the same humor in it. I think they
And
would
God
be,
bless them for that.
yeah,
That's great that they've evolved a little bit more than
yes.
we
Well, no,
us.
and
Well,
everything
no, that's
does
not the right word.
evolve because I mean, look at what they used to do in movies in the 40s,
The
right?
30s and 40s, yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
So it's completely,
And that's what we grew up with. I
yes.
mean, that's what's interesting now is that the kids were from the 1900s, according to the kids now. So they'll view what we've done or what we've watched as children without really thinking too much about the implications of what we're watching. The same way that we would watch. I'll never forget this. So Jim took me to go and see King Kong. Now that movie is one of his favorites, and it was in the 30s, I think 30s or
Mhm.
40s. And I remember going. It's black and white,
Yep.
and I remember turning to him and I said, "Wait, there isn't going to be some like African ooga booga crap in here, is there? Because there's a lot of racist shit in that type of
Yeah.
stuff." And sure enough, there it was. And you're confronted with it as an adult, which is very different from when you're seeing it as a child because you're not thinking about those type of things. It's
Yeah,
just a
weight
movie
goes
about
over
a
your head.
gigantic, exactly. But now you're like, whoa, you're seeing stuff like that. But we grew up with it, and
Mhm.
at the time it wasn't, for some people, it wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
Now with open eyes, you're like, oh, okay. So I'm wondering if people will think the same thing about our choices now, but we'll find out. We'll find
Mhm.
out. Let's go. What are you thinking, Con?
Okay, so
What affected you as a kid?
as a kid?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a movie that came out, I think, 1973. My mom, at the time when it came out, was pregnant with my brother, and we went to go watch this movie
Yeah.
at the drive-in theater.
Mhm.
I don't even know if we went to see that movie in particular. It was probably the second bill.
Yeah.
So I was born in 1971,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This movie is 1973.
Hmm. Hmm.
My mom's 8 months pregnant with him, so it has to be about September because he's born in October. I am two and no, I'd be three.
Three.
The movie is The Exorcist. A 3-year-old watching The Exorcist. What was at the time billed as the scariest movie ever to be filmed. I'm in the back seat of my parents' car at this drive-in theater. And I was the kid, if there was diagnoses then, I would probably be the ADHD kid. So I wasn't going to sleep. There was no way I was awake, right? It's my parents are awake, we're in the car, there's things to see. I'm sitting there in the back
uh,
seat watching this film of poor little Reagan being possessed
I
by
can't believe you
the
watched it.
devil.
Actually, I
Yes,
can
I
believe you
watched
watched
it.
it.
I watched it up until the point that she spun her head around and I screamed. And my parents turned around, not realizing the whole time that I was awake because they were too busy watching the movie, of course. And they told me to go to sleep. After watching this little child's head spin around, I am supposed to fall asleep in the
Oh
back
my
of a
god.
car.
Oh, the trauma. Oh, Connie. You
I was
poor
so
thing.
traumatized by this movie. Now, you're thinking that these are the movies that affected you most as a kid, like in a positive way? I don't know. I don't know if that was so positive. I was so traumatized by this movie that it wasn't until I was an adult
Oh.
that I could actually see the movie. And at this point, we have different
Oh yeah.
special effects and everything. The
Yeah.
movie kind of looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I mean, there were times that I would try to watch the movie as I was older. And I wanted so badly to be able to watch the movie. I'd watch it through an Afghan over my head through the little holes of the crochet because that Afghan was going to protect me, protection from whatever evil was going to come out of that screen. And
You
this is
poor
me as a
thing.
teenager watching it, right? You know how you'd cover your eyes and you'd
Of
watch through
course.
the little spaces of your fingers like
Yes.
that's going to somehow protect you from the scariness of the story. But so Jack said, Mom, have you seen the movie? It's ridiculous. It's not scary at all. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Are you
It is the
kidding?
scariest film I've ever seen. So we went into the basement and watched it on the projector,
Yeah.
and yeah, it wasn't scary. It
Well,
was my son, Jack, that helped me realize that it wasn't scary. But I mean, you couple that movie, watching it as a kid, then being raised Catholic, where you're told about
the
devil
devil and
possessions and stuff
yep,
like that. And
yep.
the worst thing is this devil
The
that
devil, the
they
devil,
taught
the
us.
devil's gonna get you.
Exactly. So I grew up thinking that, oh, if I do something bad, I could be possessed by the devil. Or maybe that's why I'm doing something bad, is because I'm possessed by the devil. Like, I grew up with this fear of possession.
We all did. That was a Catholic
I
thing.
was
They
like,
put the
it was like,
horrible.
how screwed up to be thinking we're going to end up being possessed by the devil.
But get a better understanding now is that your writing and the books that you've written
Yeah.
are rooted in
My
horror or
trauma.
thriller. Now I know where it comes from. Now I
Yes.
used to think this pretty girl, she's so sweet and everything else, but the stuff that she writes about, yikes!
Yes, I did have the moniker for a while of
Wow.
the Queen of Macabre.
I'm
My
just
friends,
picturing.
that's what my friends would call me.
I absolutely agree, and I will say that I'm just picturing poor little Connie popping her head up just to see this head spin around and scream
Yeah.
for God.
Now, to be fair,
Yeah,
because of being raised like this and watching Friday the 13th and Freddy Krueger and Nightmare on Elm Street,
yeah,
all of those things at an age that was probably inappropriate, I too raised my kids on horror movies at inappropriately young ages.
right.
And they would sometimes be like, Mom, this is scaring me. I'm like, but it's so good. You have to watch.
Oh my God.
And we would still watch it. They talk about it now, saying how I got Emily and Jack to watch Signs. And Emily is terrified of aliens because there's really not a lot of alien in it, just like little glimpses, but
I'm.
enough that it made them freak out. So my trauma I passed on.
Oh my God. I'm wondering if we need to call children's services here. My God.
It's a good
I,
trauma. It puts
I
hair on their chest,
I
right?
have to laugh because I grew up way more wholesome in certain respects because my childhood is rooted in my love of Disney films because I was obsessed with that. 101 Dalmatians and Mary fucking Poppins and now and listening to that. I,
101
I
Dalmatians is a
hate
horror
it.
movie about a woman that
Oh, I
wants
know.
to murder a bunch of dogs and rip their skin off to turn it into a coat. That
Isn't
is a
it?
horror film.
Isn't it? Like it's when you see the film now compared to when you're seeing it as a kid. Like actually, Cruella was terrifying. I will
Yeah.
say that. Like just, but fabulous, but
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah.
And yes, you're right. It is. But back then, because it was animation, it wasn't scary, right? Whereas
Mhm.
reality, like The Exorcist, which I never saw until high school, because I am absolutely not a horror film buff at all. I hate them. I hate them. I
Well,
hate
I
them
don't like
because it
slasher
scares me.
films. I don't like slasher films, but give me a good ghost story,
Oh,
even, God forbid, a possession story. I love it. I'm there for it.
do you know I saw something on Instagram where it was when Alien first came out in the 70s, and
Yes.
the interviewer was stopping the parents who were coming out of the movie theater with their children,
Mhm.
and the reporter was saying, "So, do you think it was appropriate for you to bring your children?" The father, "Oh yes, yes, I think it is." And then they turned to the kid, "Did you enjoy it?" "No, I really didn't."
That was me. There was probably a reporter at some place doing that very
Oh my God. And all that does, Okan, it just makes me realize just are the differences now.
Yeah.
And yes, granted, you are different because you did show your kids the horror films. That's fine.
No, you weren't raised that way.
No, I really, really wasn't. And I don't know. I think for me, there's something about being well rounded in that regard that's probably more beneficial. Maybe I should have been more exposed to some of the horrors and scares and stuff like that. But I was
It
stupid,
is what
and
it
I
is,
dumb, and
right?
I love my demo old animation films, which I absolutely love. Hell, like even as a kid, like The Sound of Music, stuff like that, which as a kid
Oh,
you loved,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But everything changed when I became a teenager. And this is where the controversy starts coming in now, because
In your
this is
teenage
the
years?
80s. This is the
Yes.
80s. And the movies that I picked, I have like, I love comedy. I've
Mhm.
always loved comedy. That's my first choice. So, like, I love Clue, and I love Airplane, and I love Top Secret. But I also love 16 Candles.
Mhm.
And 16 Candles, when I watched it when I was 16, is very different from watching 16 Candles at 54. It is, you're looking at stuff and you're like, Jesus, date rape, racism, yikes.
Yeah.
It's, you know,
So
yeesh.
I love John Hughes.
Me
John
too.
Hughes movies were my absolute favorite in my teenage years, like The Breakfast Club
Yeah,
and anything that the Brat Pack was in.
yeah.
I got the kids, Emily and Jack, to watch 16 Candles for the first time. And I'm like, oh, it was so good. I love this movie. We sat down and we're watching it. And so, the scene where the girl is drunk and her hair's caught in the door.
Yes.
I always took opportunity to talk to the kids when something bad happened. And so this is what happens when you go to a party and you get drunk. People can cut your hair and you have no clue. And you're grateful that they've chopped your hair. So that's why you don't go to parties and get drunk like that. That was my lesson. Because the whole time I'm kind of horrified by what I'm seeing and thinking, oh, maybe they shouldn't be seeing this.
Right?
Yeah. Because literally, it's like all
Oh,
about getting into her pants and having her panties, and
oh yeah. It is an intensely, it's, I'm not going to say inappropriate because it is inappropriate now. And it was
it's
inappropriate
totally
then.
inappropriate.
It's completely inappropriate. However, that was the times.
Yeah,
And you and I have been to enough parties back then. It wasn't like that, but it was,
it
you
kind
know,
of was
kind of was
sometimes.
like that. It was. It
Yeah.
was debauchery and dirty and messy and
Well,
it
and it also made me think.
fun.
If
It
you
was
remember
fun.
in the episode where we talked about David and I meeting for the first time, where he asked me if he
Yeah.
could give me a kiss.
Yeah.
Being raised on John Hughes movies, nobody ever asked. I was never asked. I thought it was strange to be asked to be kissed.
Hmm.
Now it is the norm.
Yeah.
You have to have, a positive yes, or else there's nothing. And that's how I raised my kids, right?
It really is very, very different. And it shows in the films that we pick. I mean, another John Hughes film that I had here, which I didn't really enjoy, but I only enjoyed it because the stuff that was going on outside of the film. It was with, I went to go see Weird Science with,
Mm.
I wonder if John remembers this. Probably doesn't. John, Mary, and Karen. Karen and I, what I recall the most is this was one of the first movies that I went as a group with in high school. So this came out in 1985. And the four of us went to matinee. We were watching this, and Karen and I are dying of laughter. And it wasn't the movie, but the two of us were just having such a laugh. But the movie itself, again, party scenes,
Looking
you
back at
know?
John Hughes movies, I often wonder what his life or what his relationship was with his parents, because there is such a negative relationship that he shows all the time with the
All the
parents.
time.
There's always arguing, there's always a talking down to, a dislike of the
Parental.
parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. um
There's a
it's
distance. They're not,
Yeah, and the siblings do not get along at
they
all in
don't.
these movies. So
No.
it does make me wonder what family life was like for him. Much like in the Disney films that you said you loved, I often wondered with Walt Disney, the mother figure is either dead
Yeah.
and the
The
stepmother that
stepmother
comes
is
in
evil.
is evil.
Evil.
So
Cinderella.
how did he see women in the raising of children? It
You know what? You're
always
right.
something that made me think, where they're coming from, since you're making these kind of movies.
I agree. Actually, now in retrospect, yeah, there is definitely something happened in his childhood.
Yeah, you don't get it when you're that age and you're watching, when you're a teen and you're watching the movie, you're listening to the soundtrack
Yeah.
because they had such great soundtracks. You're watching your favorite people from the Brat Pack,
Yeah.
When I saw them, whatever movie that they were going to be in,
Yeah.
those actors, I was going to love because I loved seeing them. I thought they were all beautiful. I loved the way they dressed. I loved everything about
They
them.
were they were the epitome of 80s.
Yes.
They were. And
Yeah.
hell, I'll just say this. Jim told me that he had worked with Andrew McCarthy on a TV series, and Andrew was answering a reporter about a question about the 80s, and he said, I was the 80s, and it's true. He
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
The sheer amount of Andrew McCarthy films,
Yes.
you know, huge in the 80s. Mannequin, St. Elmo's Fire,
St. Elmo's Fire. Oh my God.
Being Pink.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of stuff like Molly Ringwald too.
Yeah.
Demi Moore, which I'll mention later. What
Yes.
did
For
you pick for
my
your teenage years? Yeah,
my teenage years, again, all the John Hughes movies.
yeah,
But my favorites were, and of course, you can't do it without Mel Brooks being History of the World Part 1 and 2.
yeah.
But Stand By Me
Yes,
is one of my favorites. It's become Abby's favorite as well. I
I love
just
that.
love it.
Wow.
Again, another movie where I said, in the 50s, kids used to smoke
Oh
to my
yeah,
kids because they're like going, they're smoking. So it's like, yes, that was
yeah,
a normal thing in the 50s.
yeah. That's
Where
true.
you just kind
And
of
the 80s.
explain away these things. Yes.
Yeah.
And Princess Bride.
There's a lot of people that love Princess
The
Bride. Do you know
Princess
I've never
Bride
seen
was,
it? Do you know
you've
that?
never seen it?
I have never
Oh my
seen it
God.
because it's never been something that I would have interest. It wasn't of
It's
interest.
such a good movie. It's funny. It has the actors in it. Mandy Patinkin is amazing in it. And I love that movie so much that I used the soundtrack in my wedding. It was our first dance.
Wow. I don't remember that. Wow, I
Yeah.
didn't know that. What was the title? What was it called? Do you remember?
Storybook Love.
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
Storybook Love is the title of that song. But yeah, yeah.
Well, for me, for the drama, I loved E.T. and I saw that came out when I was 10 or 11. I swear to God, I think I saw that movie like 6, 7 times as a kid, and it's still beloved to me. I
Yes.
absolutely loved E.T. And when you're watching it now compared to back then, it's so 80s. Like this, just the house, the designs, the everything. It's so 80s, and I love that part. But also Back to the Future was a big one.
Yes.
Dead Poet Society, and Dead Poet Society to
Yes.
this
It's
day.
one of my favorites.
Oof, that's heavy duty, but so good, Robin Williams. I know earlier I had mentioned how much I hate horror films. Well, there's one that stood out that I really, really enjoyed, and it's Poltergeist. And when I
Oh,
first saw that in the 80s, well, yeah, that scared the hell out of me. But now technology, as you said, makes
yes.
it looks
Cartoonish.
kind of, yeah. But there's still some scares in there. One of my
They're
favorites. I
here.
know. Wasn't she great? I know.
Yeah.
There's so many parodies about that.
Yes.
I was going to add two more films, and you're going to laugh because it's musicals. One was Dirty Dancing. Yes, I did like that movie.
Yes.
And the other was Breakin' and Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo. Because breakdancing was everything.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Connie, that is. Alex and I went to go see Breakin'. And then all of us at school, because this is grade 8, and we would all try to breakdance because we were all bad at it. You can still see us. Hell, even in the movie theater, people were breakdancing. It was quite funny.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was great. Oh, God, what a time. What a great movie. Okay, that's my list.
When you think of activity in a movie theater back
Yeah,
in the 80s, it's Rocky Horror Film.
I know. Yeah,
That's quintessential, like audience getting
yes,
involved.
absolutely. Do they
Yeah,
still?
yeah, it's a cult
Okay,
classic now. They still have that at all any of the Roxys that are around.
uh, the Roxy.
I
That's where I went to see E.T. And yeah, memories of the Roxy.
I know.
Yeah. So, what else you got for your teen years?
For my teen years, that's
Yeah.
it. But my adult years,
Yes.
so my taste kind of changes. I mean, does it actually? I'm not sure. In my adult years, I guess it becomes a little bit more sophisticated, but not really.
Mine isn't at all.
So this is probably my favorite movie as well. And it's not funny in any way. It's sad, it's horrifying, but it is the most emotional um, movie that has affected me in such a deep way, and moved me in such a deep way, and that's Schindler's List.
Uh, yeah.
It I was just so affected by it in a I don't even know how I would describe it, but the fact that Steven Spielberg employed actual Polish people,
Hmm.
like just regular people. His vision, his reasoning for wanting to do it as a tribute to his family. I would say that it should be a must watch movie. Like they should almost teach people it, because it not only was it a movie about the Holocaust, but it was a movie about somebody who stood up for the Jewish people in the way that he could. It was because of him that these people were saved. And so, it brings me to today when people look at the things that are happening, what can we do? There are different ways to
Of
help
course.
people that may not seem like they're overtly helping them, but you are helping. And I don't know, it just,
There's a visceral reaction to that film.
yes,
And the minute that you said it, instantly my brain went to the girl in the red
in the
coat.
red. Yes.
Instantly. Because
Yeah.
that stands out. It is designed, of course, to stand out, but it just remained implanted in my brain.
Yes.
And then I look at that and that movie, and then I compare it to where we are now. And I'm going to make a comment about this because it's hard to avoid.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm watching films now that were made in the 90s or the early 2000s, and I compare it to the situation in the United States right now,
Mm.
I think, what the fuck is going on? All the stuff that America was built on in these movies, there's this weird sense of heartbreak, I suppose is probably one of the words, and shock,
Mm.
because look where they are and look at these films and TV shows we can add in. It's shocking.
Yeah.
With that said, I think Schindler's List is a great film to pick on.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Fantastic pick. I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my other two, they don't have the same
Right.
effect.
Yeah.
Father of the Bride,
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah.
just because I love the house. I always
The
thought, oh my
house.
God, that house.
Yeah.
I would love that house. The street
Yeah.
lined in those giant
Yeah.
trees,
Yeah.
and just to be able to have my child's wedding in my backyard like that. Like it was
Yeah.
just, and it was just so funny that
It's a funny. Martin Short was brilliant. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
Martin
Yes.
Short,
They all were.
Steve
Everybody
Martin,
was great.
like
It's
yeah, yeah,
good choice. What's the other
yes.
one?
And then Interview with a Vampire.
Oh.
I'm not a Tom Cruise fan. I was when I was young, because we all of us girls were. We thought he was the cutest
Yeah.
thing, but not as an adult. But Interview with the Vampire was his best comedic role ever. He was so funny in that role. It was his best acting. In all of his other stuff, I find him very toxic, very aggressive. There's something about him that I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way. But in this film, he's so funny, and it's just this dry sense of humor.
Yeah.
The way Lestat talks to
Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny, especially the ending when he has the interviewer in the car with him, and they're driving away. He's like, "Oh, Louis, he drives me crazy because he's just so depressing all the time."
That is such an interesting choice. It was
Yeah.
so over the top.
Yes.
I don't know if Anne Rice, did she like the movie? I'm not sure
I don't
what
know if she liked
said
the
about
portrayal.
that.
There is a series now that has started.
Yeah, Jim said it's great. I
Is
haven't
it?
I
I
haven't
haven't seen
watched
it.
it. I haven't
Yeah.
either. But he said, yeah, it's pretty good. Interesting choices.
Yes.
Now my list, and I have a list because
Yes.
it's definitely a mixed bag. I wrote down The Sixth Sense, which
Oh.
was
So good.
Connie, the ending scene when he tells his mom that she's so proud of you. I bawled
I
in
know.
the theater, cried and cried. It was such a good movie. The Last Boy Scout, which you won't know, it's Bruce
Yeah.
Willis, and fantastic movie. Terminator 2. I got boy.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Oh wait, yeah.
Why?
I thought it was well written. It's
Mhm.
James Cameron. He
Yeah.
when he's going to do something, he's going to
Oh,
do it
yeah.
well. I didn't like Titanic as much as I love. Well, the only part of Titanic I like is when the ship broke apart. But um,
It was a surprise ending.
oh yeah,
Who would have
surprise!
seen that coming?
Who could have seen it? Actually, in comparison now, something I saw something online as a sidebar where they showed what it really was like and how dark it was. I'm like, yeah, that's terrifying. I'm sorry, that's freaking scary.
Yeah.
Anyway, but Terminator, it's so well written and it never stops. It is a relentless pounding to you all the time. And I love that. That's the way action films should be.
Yeah.
And I like action films. And this one never stops. It's so good. And everybody in it is fantastic. Boys in the Hood
Oh,
is
yeah.
one of my favorites too, as well. Jennifer 8, which you probably haven't. Did you ever hear that movie? It's with that.
No, I know my kids have seen it though,
Oh,
and they loved it.
loved it. Alex, this is what Al and I, we really love that movie. Blair Witch, the first
Really?
Blair Witch Project. Yeah. Do
I
you
would
remember,
never have
Con?
guessed that of you. You don't like horror,
I
really. And
don't,
even
but
Jennifer 8.
I know.
Isn't that
But Blair
horror as
Witch, did
well?
you not like it?
So, no, I did not. Because you know what?
Oh,
The film style of it
yeah.
on that camcorder made me nauseous.
Okay.
And that was why. And I don't like not being able to see what's
Yeah.
going on.
But that was the point too,
I
right?
know,
Yeah.
yes, but I don't like that. I don't
I
even
get it.
even the horror movies of the 70s. If I watch them now, I find them so dark and I'm like, I can't see anything. There's nothing in here that's scaring me because I can't see it. And I
Got it.
know that's the whole point is that
Of
you
course.
can't see it. It's supposed to be, but it just doesn't.
It's supposed to be what your mind says it, what you might
Yeah.
think it might be. But
Yeah.
I loved it. I thought because it was brand new, that whole style, and watching it was really interesting. And you're right, the
Yeah.
shaky camera was, but I loved it. And the last two are Jodie Foster films.
Oh,
And
really?
Silence of the Lambs.
Such a good film.
Yeah.
Yeah, Evelyn watched that in psychology.
Oh, it's just still, it's still powerful when you watch
Yeah.
it today.
Yeah.
And the other one is The Accused. Did you ever see that with Kelly McGillis and Jodie Foster?
Yeah, no, I couldn't watch
Okay.
that one.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story. We went to, a whole bunch of us went to the drive-in to go and watch a double feature, and that was one of the films. That was the last film. There was another one before that, and then there was The Accused. When it came to that scene, obviously we didn't know what the movie was going to be about.
Right.
No one did. There was silence, complete silence in that huge
Yeah.
parking lot. And there was a party going on in that parking lot.
Mhm.
Connie, it was dead. Everybody was like, and
Yeah.
I've never seen such a visceral reaction. It's still in my head about that. That scene was too much to bear for a, how old was I? 22 maybe, or whatever, for all of
Yeah.
us. And I thought, that's movie making. And she played it. Jodie deserved the Oscar for that. She
Yeah.
was fantastic. Even if the premise and the story was so awful, I do think it's something that people should watch just because it's a story that there's so many women out there that have had to go through this. And when they
It's a
go to court to deal
Huge
with
trigger warning. They didn't even put a trigger warning for anyone. So that's
didn't.
why it was like,
you didn't see it, Con?
no, I refuse to.
I don't, okay.
I
I
couldn't
don't
see
blame
it.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Mm-mm.
So that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't get over, I couldn't get over not just the scene, but the silence.
Yeah.
And
I
it
can
remained that
imagine.
way
Yeah.
for the rest of the film. Silence. Yeah. It just had, we were shocked, absolutely shocked. And it's hard. I don't know if we were part of a generation that could still be shocked into silence compared to now. I don't know.
Like
I don't
that.
know. I don't
I
know.
don't know.
But we were.
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah.
So
So and I know we've been to the drive-in. Going to the drive-in is
it's great.
to lighten the
yeah, to lighten the atmosphere a little
to
bit.
lighten
Yeah.
up the atmosphere right now. Going to the drive-in was always my favorite
Hmm.
thing. We would pile into the car. And I remember piling into a car. I don't even know who was driving. I know I was sitting on Alex's lap, and there was somebody else sitting on somebody else's lap. Like there was like too many of us in the back seat. We had people in the trunk.
Oh yeah.
We had a blanket over top of somebody
Oh yeah.
at our feet. There were so many people in that car because you paid for the carload.
Who was? I think I was there. Who was
I
driving? Do you
have no
remember?
idea.
There's a whole bunch of us that went.
Yeah, I know Kelly Metcalf was there. Like I think it was all of us
Yeah,
that were
that
there.
was
Colleen
ages
was
ago.
there.
Yeah, this was. Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wish I could remember what we went to see.
I have again, I don't know what we went to. It was the experience was going to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
drive-in.
yeah, yes, and sneaking in beers in the
As
trunk.
yes. Yeah. And
Of
you know
course, I
what?
forgot.
So
Forgot about
since
that.
I have kids now, we go to the drive-in because it's something where we can all go. It's fun.
Yeah,
All I sneak in is the bug spray.
it's you know when even
Bug
as a
spray and
kid.
food.
Oh yeah, even as a kid, we went to the drive-in too, and there's just some. It's an experience that I'm thrilled that we had a chance that we got to do, and I think it's
Yeah.
great that you're still
Oh,
doing it.
that's where we went and saw Barbie.
Oh yeah,
We made a whole thing of it. We all dressed in pink. Evelyn's and her friends, and Abby and her friends. We had 3 cars all parked beside each other. We brought pink food, pink popcorn, and we did the whole thing. It was so fun. We go up to the one in Newmarket,
yeah, yeah.
and it's such a good time. It's different now though.
Yeah, how does
So
it work? Because
unlike
back in the day,
before,
you used to put the thing
you
on the
had the
car window.
clip on the speaker on the car that you would
That's
put on.
right.
Now you have to leave your car on
Okay.
and turn it's on a radio station. So you're just leaving the car, not idling, but you have the battery on.
That's
So
okay.
what can happen when you do
Jeez.
that to your car battery?
For 2 hours?
Exactly. So there was one time where we saw the new Ghostbusters. We went to go turn on the car to leave after, and our headlights had died completely. And my brother's headlights had died as well. And we were like, what the heck?
What?
We had to drive with our high beams on to get
Oh
home.
God.
And then like the next day go and get our headlights
That is
fixed.
stupid. Why
It
would they do
is,
this?
I don't know. And so then from then on in, because I love going to the drive-in, but I don't
Hmm.
like leaving my car on that long.
I'm
So
with you, Con. Like
so
that's
I would leave my car off and we would listen from because everyone has their cars open, right? You have your trunk open and everything, right? So I can hear from everybody else's cars beside me.
Hey, that's smart.
And I'm like going, yeah, that's how we're doing it.
Yeah. This is stupid.
It
What
is.
this
It's a very strange way of doing it. And we've had people ask, so what happens if your car dies? And we have things to boost it. That's the response to it.
I think that's stupid. I mean,
Yeah.
there was nothing wrong with the speaker at the
No,
side of your car. You weren't causing damage to your car
no.
or around you. You put it on your window, listen, voila,
Yep.
done, and you could hear it perfectly fine.
I'm wondering why.
I have a feeling like obviously it might have something to do with profits and money because it
Well,
always
that's
is.
what I'm thinking. What could be costing them money
Yeah,
in the speakers other than maintenance? Maybe electricity, extra electricity.
maybe. And in people's idiotic zest for money, they make
Mm-hmm.
stupid decisions, and this is one of them. Really,
Yep.
really stupid.
Yeah.
Really stupid.
Yeah.
You know. But still, the experience itself is. I mean, if people can get a chance to do it, I think it's great,
Oh,
and
it
I
is
miss it.
so
It's
fun.
so much fun.
It's so fun. I
So
mean,
many good
again,
memories.
it's not like when we were kids,
No,
though.
no,
So when we were kids, there was, I mean, kids,
it was a
meaning
party.
teenagers, it was a party. You'd
It was
be
a
seeing
party.
everybody running all over the place. You
It
don't
was so
see
much
that now.
fun.
You
God, I
don't.
remember that when we went, Con. And I
Yeah.
was coming back to me, even running around with Colleen. This is, yeah, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
I
You
don't
don't
think,
see that, though, now.
no,
You don't see a bunch of teenagers going, which is kind of odd.
Wow.
And I don't see any alcohol. I could be wrong, but I'm not seeing anyone drinking or anything. We're obviously not drinking. I go there with my treats because the
Yeah,
stuff at the
it's
concession
expensive.
stand is so expensive.
Ridiculous.
So I buy
It's
candy
int-
and popcorn and chips and everything. We could live for a week there with the amount of junk food that I bring.
well, I will say that, I mean, keeping in mind how things are changing, even when you go to the movie theater, what I'm finding difficult is that people are not respecting being in a theater with
Mm,
their phone on and
yes.
talking. I mean,
You
the two
always had
times,
talking though.
not as
Always.
bad as it's been. And I've gone, I don't go that much anymore because it's just,
Mhm.
I can't take it anymore because I will get violent with people that are just won't shut the fuck up when you're watching
Be
this, the
careful. Stephen is a
movie.
very violent person.
No, it's, well, I have a cane now. I'll use it. But no, I mean, no, I mean, it's just, it's not fun anymore. And mind you, some of the theaters now are comfortable because they've built
Oh
these
my God, they're
beautiful chairs,
so,
so good.
yes.
But the point of being in a theater isn't to be comfortable, it's just to enjoy the experience. It's to
Mhm.
relish in being in an environment with everybody else. We're all watching this together.
Yeah.
And there is something amazing when you're in that environment and everybody is watching the film.
Yeah. There's
But
that
there's so
energy.
much, exactly, but the distractions that are going on now just takes away from that. When you
Yeah.
hear a phone, when you hear someone talking, it's like you're pulled away from this glory of what's going on the screen and you're focused on the idiot that won't shut the F up beside you, right? So now I prefer, now we got a big screen at home. Let's watch
Yeah.
it there.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
miss it though, Con.
Yes. I watched Wicked at
Wicked.
the theater the last time. As for me,
Yeah.
as the seats were reclining, they were so nice, but I find it freezing in there. It is
Oh,
so cold. And I'm like, okay, next time I do this, which I loved going and I
yeah.
really enjoyed, the comfort of the whole thing,
Yeah.
I'm bringing a blanket
Don't blame you.
because I was freezing.
That's interesting. Eh?
Yeah. And it's always like that.
Well, I will say that your recent pick is now bringing us to the topic of what our recent faves are. And I will say Wicked is one of my favorites now. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that movie. And
Yeah.
comparison to that, to what I wasn't sure about, there's two films, is The Substance. And
Mm.
did you see it with
I
Demi
haven't
Moore?
seen it yet. No.
Okay, I'm gonna let you watch that, and then when you do, we're gonna come back to this, like even if it is
Mm.
in a subsequent episode later on, because I really want to know what you think. Jim hated it. I I'm confused by it. It's still in my head. It's just it's she's great in
Yeah.
it, and I actually really respect her. The fact that she said in one of her acceptance speeches recently for winning for her role in that movie, Demi was just saying that an agent called her a popcorn actress, you know.
Mm.
And I understand that. She's in so many great films, Ghost, a bunch of films in the 90s. She was huge. She was everything in the 90s.
Yeah.
She was everywhere. But she wasn't an award winning actor. And this film, I'm just gonna say I do recommend if you have the time to watch it, Connie, because I
Hmm.
really want to know
Yeah.
what you think about
I
it.
know Evelyn
I'm
loved it.
reading that generation loved it, loved
Yeah.
it. It's interesting,
She called
definitely.
it body horror,
Yeah, yes,
which
yes.
I've never heard of that term body horror before, but I'm assuming
Connie,
it's stuff that happens to a body, but
mhm.
and
It's
I know,
relentless.
yeah.
The messaging, it's relentless. You
Hmm.
can't escape the body image, the horror that you're right. Your daughter is absolutely correct. So if you have a chance, and what about you? What's your most recent?
The most recent I have to share is Wicked as well.
Yeah,
Ariana Grande
yeah.
and
Cynthia
Cynthia Erivo and
Rubio.
Jonathan Bailey.
Yeah,
My God,
yeah.
Jonathan Bailey, I think, is every woman or every girl that watches it, their crush, and then they find out that he's
He's
gay
gay, 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 gay.
and they're crushed. I know that Evelyn loves him, especially with him being on Bridgerton.
Oh, right.
He is a very handsome man. It's his eyes.
Yeah,
He has smiles. He has those eyes that can pull you in, and
yeah, yeah. He's
it's
very
the eyes and
charismatic.
his smile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that movie was a surprise. As you know, I'm not overly enthusiastic about musicals,
Yes.
but Wicked was phenomenal. The
Yeah, and
acting, the
it's
singing.
only the first half. There's still
I
another.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
And
Good.
they did everything, like, as far as set design, they planted every single tulip. It's not a green screen. The choreography, every movement they practiced and did. And
Yeah.
Cynthia Erivo was talking about how she was so chafed from the harness for her flying, but
Yeah.
kept on doing it. And they sang live.
Live. They
They
sang
weren't,
live.
to a track. They were
Yep.
singing live while they were doing it, which speaks to their talent.
Jim was mentioning he was blown away by the production of it. Working in the industry, that's what he would look at.
Yes.
And
I don't
I
work in the
can't.
industry and I look at set design
Yeah,
and
I don't
everything.
either. It was
I'm
beautiful.
marveled by all of that stuff. Yeah.
I hope it does well at the Oscars. It deserves it. I really do think this is one of those special films.
Yeah.
And again, as not a huge musical fan, it is beyond that. It actually is a very good story. I didn't know that there was a part two, so I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
seeing that very
Oh
much.
yeah. Yeah,
What
there's
about
a
you,
whole
Con?
other half that has to still happen. So it's
Oh yeah. So what else is your most recent film beside Wicked? That's it.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that's
'cause you
okay.
know what? It's so funny because I rewatch old films that I
Yeah,
love.
me too.
I love watching the old films. I saw recently, and it's Young Frankenstein. I watch that over and over and over again all the time, just because putting on the Ritz, putting on the Ritz, or however he says it. It's just so funny. Young Frankenstein's one of my favorites. And I'll rewatch all of these movies, even Stand By Me, I rewatch Breakfast Club. Because I love them so much, to find a new film,
Yeah.
it has to be really special. And Wicked was the one that was really special. Barbie, again, another one that was really special, as far as, them saying, it was too woke or whatever. I think that there's a lot of men out there that maybe didn't understand the
Still
Barbie
don't.
movie who were offended by that,
Okay.
which is why there was a lot of controversy for that movie, because they just didn't, they didn't understand what was going on in the movie.
I think it's a choice.
Yes.
You
Oh,
can
yeah,
choose,
absolutely.
absolutely. You can choose to not quote unquote understand.
Yeah.
All you have to do is just listen. End of
Hmm.
story. And yeah, they chose not to. So boo hoo. I'm
Yeah.
sorry if you did, just listen. Maybe you'll understand.
Yeah.
And I'll just say as a final thing, um, two movies for me personally, uh, coming of age as a gay man, especially in the 90s. Like I was struggling a lot, but and I would turn to some movies to give me some perspective, and
Hmm.
also just to see movies about people like me,
Right.
or or stories about gay people.
Yeah.
And these two movies that I think really speak to me were Priest
I never
and
heard of
Beautiful
it.
Thing. Priest was Tears of Sadness, and Beautiful Thing was Tears of Joy. Priest was about a Catholic priest caught having an affair with another man, and the fallout within the church itself, and the way that he was treated by the community, who at first loved him,
Hmm.
but then after that, it's. I won't get into the story too much because I do believe it's one of those essential viewings that should be watched,
Right.
and they can get their own perspective out of that final scene. But it breaks your heart because it is about struggle and it is about sometimes paying the price. And in the 90s, there was a lot going on within the
Yeah.
gay community, dealing with disease and everything else, but just being gay. And the other one was Beautiful Thing, which is the story of two young boys 19-year-old kids, coming to terms with their feelings for each other and proudly displaying it at the end in front of everybody, having a
Hmm.
dance, dancing with each other in the middle of this gigantic square. And it's wonderful because this is the 90s and it's not that long ago. But the fact is that
It is long ago.
it is long ago and it's still, people still have problems. More so now, which is shocking
Yes.
than they did back. I can't even say that. I'm just like, it's still the stupidness of people having problems dealing with someone's sexuality, which frankly is none of their goddamn business, but still they want to involve themselves in other people's sexuality. This is the story that just breaks through all that.
Yeah.
And I do highly recommend it for any young gay male or gay woman, whoever it is that's struggling with their terms and realizing, yes, you can still fall in love and be
Yeah.
the person that you want to be with.
I think it's so different now than it was in the 90s. And fortunately, all of the young gay and lesbian kids in Canada,
Yeah,
I'd love to say everywhere, but are able to stand on the shoulders of the struggles that all of you prior had to
I
go
hope so.
through. Because it's so, I don't know. And it could just be because of who I'm surrounded with. I mean, Evelyn was watching Red, White, and Royal Blue,
Yeah,
which is a Netflix
yeah, yeah,
movie. Her and David watched it together, right?
yeah,
It was a love story.
yeah.
And that's how it's presented. That's representation.
Agreed.
And the importance of having movies that doesn't necessarily have to show the struggle, because I think we're beyond that now. I would hope we're beyond the struggle of having to come out, and now we can just
We're not
show
beyond it.
relationships, and
I
it's
don't think
just
we're
like,
beyond it.
pardon?
I don't think we're beyond it.
Oh no.
No, I still think that I had high hopes for our generation,
Yeah.
Generation X. I
Mhm.
had high hopes for us. And I'm slowly realizing there's some disappointments, as there would be. I mean, that's just life. That's just the way it
Well,
goes.
Generation X though was raised on homophobia.
But also enough room there to navigate it in a way that leaving you a little bit more open-minded to the struggles. Because yes, you're right. We grew up with that. God knows I did, because I still,
Yes.
and that meant that I had to come to terms with it because I was gay.
Yeah.
But and that was in its own journey. However, I, I had hopes for everybody. I had hopes for our generation.
Mhm.
I'm finding that, I mean, you've told me stories already with schools and situations with parents our age who are having great pushback against gay and lesbian clubs and schools and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that to me is a sign that nope, we're not there.
But I
There's
think those are
still a lot of
those
work to
are
do.
the older people though that are doing the pushback. I don't know if the younger people are.
Well, when you say young, are you talking under 40 or under 30? That's different. I'm talking
Yes,
about
that's what
our
I'm talking
age.
about.
Yeah. Oh, they're
That's why I'm
different.
saying that's why I
I
think it
think.
is getting better. Again, I'm not talking about the US.
Yeah.
And I do live in a very different situation. I'm in a theater family,
Yeah.
and my kids have theater friends, and so or they have artistic friends. Like, so
Yeah.
it's a very different circle that I am surrounded by.
Yeah.
So I am going to see a more accepting, more open, more, LGBTQ friendly environment
Right.
that I live in.
That's right.
So maybe that's why I see things differently. I only
It's
know from
always,
my own.
of course.
Yeah.
I'll just say this and this is also that's what our show's called. That's what we think.
Yeah.
But I think just having more movies, more on-screen representation is definitely beneficial.
Yeah.
We need as much as we can get. That applies for gay, that applies for being black, that applies for all of it. And
To
I want to
see
see more.
yourself, to see
It
yourself
matters.
is so important.
It does. I mean, on TV, there's way more representation than there is. I find in movies, it's a different storytelling in movies than it is. TV seems to be a little bit more. There's wider,
Yeah.
stories, different scenarios. It's important. You need it, and I know people get tired of hearing about it, and I get it. It might be a tiring
I don't get
topic.
it.
However, it
I don't
needs
get
to
it.
be said.
I don't get it. Why are you tired of it? Are you tired of seeing, have you ever said you're tired of seeing so many white straight people on TV?
No,
I
of
don't
course they
think I've ever
wouldn't.
heard anyone say that.
Well,
So,
that's logical though, Con. And
like,
whereas that's logical thinking, and there's some of the people out there are not logical about this
yeah,
topic, and they are very, very stuck in
yeah,
this mindset. I feel even as I get older that I'm getting tired of having to defend what is my life and people's lives. It
Yeah.
is our life. This is our life. And what's showing on TV and movies is finally a representation that's a little bit better than what they used to show in the 50s and 60s. In the 50s and
Yeah.
60s, movies would show us as deviants. And there are plenty of people out there that still believe that.
Well, and
And they
those
can
people that were showing it as deviants were hidden, closeted gay people.
completely half of Hollywood, for God's sake. So,
Yes.
so it's no, not half of Hollywood, but the whole point is
But
that it's
yes.
hidden within the ranks of that world.
Yeah.
And it's disappointing that it's hard enough I'm being judged as a black man, but add in the gay, it's another
Yep.
level of judgment. And I just think, well, I can't change what you're thinking, and I'm too tired to spend the time
No.
to do that. I hope maybe eventually you'll get to that level, and the more that we see it, the more that it will help.
Yeah.
But that's all you can do. You can only hope that it gets better. As for the younger generation, I will say that, and this is the younger generation of gay and lesbian and trans and all of them that are coming up behind me. I think that I can't speak for that generation. I watch them, and I watch to see how well they've taken on the struggles that my generation and older have had to do. It's different. It's
Yeah.
a different. Their struggles are a little bit different.
Hopefully the new regime in the States
God,
doesn't affect the movie industry,
I
because we need to continue to see representation. It's bad enough
across
that they took the T out of LGBTQ.
they did. I didn't
They
know
did.
that.
Yes.
Okay.
It's going to be a whole other episode that we're going to have to talk about, because there's a
Yeah,
lot that's
I
been
didn't
going
realize
on.
they had.
Yeah, on all of their literature now. Everything has been wiped. It's just LGB. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't get angry. I won't.
Nope.
I just nope.
No, but it
We're
is going to be. We are going to have
we
a
will. Yep. Oh,
conversation
we
on that one,
absolutely will.
because it is a huge, very
Yeah.
big thing.
And we'll see how this chilling effect has on the movie business itself.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what stuff is going to be coming down the road, and Lordy help us.
Yeah.
But
Well, and film is usually the protest of stuff that's going on politically.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
times, not always, but a lot of times it is.
This
They-
actually might also be an opportunity for filmmakers to really shine,
Yeah.
to take that blanket of oppression that seems to be happening right now and use that. Sometimes the most creative things come out of periods of oppression.
Yes.
In the meantime, Connie and I will also be watching out for you guys, just to hear what you have to say about this episode. And if you have any movies or suggestions, we would love to hear about that, because I'm sure we're missing some stuff here. Of course we are.
Or forgotten.
Or forgotten. Yeah. Yeah. So we look forward to hearing your thoughts and opinions about our show today.
Yes. And you can listen to our show on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Music, anywhere that you listen to your podcasts.
That's right. And you can, of course, reach out to us at theconnieandsteve@gmail.com for any comments. But in the meantime, my dear, dear, dear friend, that was fun.
It was very fun. I love movies.
Oh, me too. So,
and I'm so glad that I've gotten to watch a lot of those drive-in movies with you.
Yeah, me too.
Even though I don't know how much watching anyone was doing.
No, but at least
we were hanging out. We're in that environment.
God, it was great. But in the meantime, I hope you have a fantastic, fabulous day, my friend.
Thank you.
And we will be talking soon.
Okay, love you.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
See you later. Bye. Love you too.